Welcome back, crew. It's September, so that means we're learning all about Into the Odd by Chris McDowell. So, what we're going to be doing today is showing you how to build a PC with the Into the Odd system, as well as how to go through and run some of the core mechanics of the system. So, you'll have a PC built and you jump right into the game and have some adventures in Bastion City. But before we get into that, I did want to give a couple announcements. For those of you who are wondering, like, hey, where was the actual play video? Unfortunately, we had to postpone it. As I mentioned before, I'm going to be going out of the country and actually leaving in a couple hours. And I overestimated a bit of how much I could get through this week. And unfortunately, by the time that the Wednesday came up, between my other games I was running and some of the work I had to do for my regular life to get ready, I was just feeling drained. And rather than half-ass it, I'm like, we'll push this off a little bit so we can come at it full strength. So, the actual play for Into the Odd will be October 12th at 7 p.m., which is a Wednesday, on my channel, Tegan J Gaming at twitch.com. Link down in the description. Drop a follow if you haven't. We'll be doing all the goodness. We'll be running our actual play of the system, giving away a copy of a PDF, and just kind of showing you the ins and outs of this amazing system so you can hopefully branch out, try it with your crew, and if you're one of the lucky viewers to win the raffle and get to bring the system home, be able to bring it back to your table and have some own adventures within the End of the Odds system. So, now we went through that, let's jump into the game. So, we're going to build a PC with the End of the Odd rules. One of my favorite pieces with this, because it's very similar to Karen, which is actually based off the End of the Odd system, is it's very quick, easy to build a PC. You can build one in like under 5 minutes, which we're hopefully going to do, jump right into the story and start having fun and kind of interacting with the table. So we're going to jump in. Let's throw up the PDF. We're going to go through and roll, because this is a system that encourages you to, actually says you should roll your PC out. So we're going to go through, we're going to roll for our core stats. We're going to see what equipment that grants us, and we're going to build our guy out. So I'm rolling. I'm going to call this guy Avis. He's going to be our guy, and we're going to see what we learn about him as we roll some of these stats. So with this system, you have 3 core stats: strength, dexterity, and willpower. Everything you do is going to be connected to one of those stats. If you want to push a boulder up a hill, strength. If you want to convince someone what you need to do, charisma. Dexterity, if you want to be stealthing around, doing some acrobatics across rooftops as you're hiding from someone, dexterity. Each of these stats determines everything. Makes it easy because you only have to worry about those 3 stats, and kind of allows you to let that fiction shine through. So we're going to go through and you roll 3d6 in order for each of these stats, so you don't get to pick which ones you want to go where. And then you roll your HP, and then we're going to flip back into the book and you see what equipment that gets us. So before we go to the character sheet, one thing I do want to shout out, just for those who may be confused like I was, or maybe you're smarter than I am. But if you were looking for the End of the Odd character sheet and you bought the remaster like I did, it's in your PDF. Not like where you'd expect, though. So it's attached to your PDF within it. So if you go to Adobe Acrobats and click on Attachments within your PDF, it'll take you to where the character sheet's linked. I got very confused. I Googled. Luckily, I went to the Discord. That question had been asked a couple of times, so I found the answer, but wanted to save you guys just so you didn't have to go through the confusion, but maybe you're smarter than me. So let's jump into that. So we've got Avis over here. We're going to go through and roll some 3d6s. So strength first. So he's got a 10 for strength. 10 is the average for the system, so he's an averagely strong guy. Dexterity. 9 for dexterity, so just slightly below average on that. At 11 for willpower. He's a pretty base. He's damn near straight average. He's got a 10, 10, 10 if we took the 11 off of will. So we're going to go through and fill that in our sheet. So 10 strength, 9 dexterity, 11 willpower. Avis is a pretty average bloke. But let's roll his HP, and let's see what that gets him on that side. We'll jump right back into the book and see what we get. So 5. So he's an average guy, but he's pretty strong, pretty sturdy. He can take a beating or two and get up and still keep adventuring. So let's throw that 5 in there, because these stats are important because it's going to show through and see what we get for our starting equipment. So our best stat was 11 with willpower. So remember that, and then we had a 5 for HP. So we're going to scroll down a little bit into the starting package table. So 11's our best stat. We're going to go down here. And then 5 HP. We get some pretty nice stuff. So we get a machete, a brace of pistols, a talking parrot, and a never sleep. So we get some pretty nice stuff on that side. Usually I actually roll a little better with my stats. I never get some cool stuff with this. So at least for the carried system. So with this, let's throw this into our, we're going to go back into our PC sheet real quick. Throw all this into there. We got our machete, our brace of pistols, talking parrot, which is named, we're going to call him Varys. Avis and Varys never sleep. So we get all this cool stuff, and we're going to go into what some of these mechanics mean. So note that we've got a D6 machete and a D8 pistol. Not sure exactly what a brace of pistols is, but we're going to roll with it. So those are our two weapons. But we built a PC. This is our PC. We've got our guy. We've got our stuff. We could jump into a game right now, and we're good to go. But let's go. So we're going to jump into a game. Let's go over how we should be playing this game. So Into the Odd is very, it said fiction first, low mechanics. It's made to be kind of jumped into the action quickly, so you and your game master can kind of go through and have fun without having to spend hours building PCs or going over the core rules. It's just get ready to quickly play and get in. So with this, there's a couple things we're going to touch on. The core of this system is behind saves. So we had our 3 stats: dexterity, strength, willpower. These are going to be kind of going through these. You're going to make actions, describe what your character does in the fiction. And if you come across an opportunity or your game master says, hey, this is probably a spot you should roll, you're going to make a save generally. And the save is going to be one of those stats. So as we mentioned, like if you're pushing up a boulder, you're going to be making a strength save. Trying to avoid a trap, that's going to be a dexterity save. And with this system, it's a little bit reverse. It's D20. But usually with the D20 system, you get a nat 20, you're happy, nat 1, you're sad. Reverse those. Nat 1 is king here, nat 20s are the devil. You're going to be, it's going to take a little bit to get used to as you play it, because you're going to see that 20 come through and you get excited before you realize 20 is always a failure. So keep that in mind. So with our guy, we're decent, we're average. So we need to be beating a 10 or below for strength, 11 or below for wisdom, 9 or below for dexterity. It's not great. It's not terrible. I've never rolled an average guy like that for Karen or my other one, so it'll be interesting. It will be interesting to see how he played out. So we've gone through those are how saves works. Turns. If you get into combat within the system, rather than roll initiative, players generally go first, unless they are surprised. If they're surprised, the characters must each roll an individual dexterity save. If they beat their save, so if Avis, I got a 9 or below, he would be able to act that first round. If he failed, he wouldn't be able to act that turn. He'd have to go the next round. Within those rounds, though, both players and enemies can go in any order they wish. So the players always go first. If you got 3 players, they'd all make their actions first. Then the enemies respond, and then back to the players, and so on and so forth. Combat for this is also pretty easy. Within combat, you make your move and then perform an action. So we're going to go into some of those actions you can perform now. You can make attacks, blast, all of that, use an arcana. And that's kind of what you can do during your turn. So this is a little bit differently with how you make attacks. With Into the Odd, you don't roll to attack. It's assumed that you always hit when you get the opportunity to do that. So when you do that, so we had machete with a D6 and a pistols with a D8. So if you go in and try to attack somebody, you roll that pistol, D8, roll the machete, D6, and whatever they roll is kind of the damage they'll take. And with that damage, they're going to minus that from their armor, and they'll take the rest to HP. So fairly simple on that side. Within it, though, there could be situations where you may be impaired, and rather than roll your regular weapon die, you roll a D4. Or you could also be in a spot where somebody else is impaired or in a risky spot or somewhere, some extra reason where you'd have a special advantage, and you'd roll a D12 versus the dice. So those will usually be called out by your game master. They'll let you know kind of if you're in that spot to benefit from one of those. But otherwise, you just got to roll your weapon dice. So let's say it's poor Avis. Somebody came up and shot him with his old pistol. They rolled that D8. He had 5 HP, and they just knocked it out of the park with a 7. So he doesn't have any armor. We'd minus that 7 or 5 from the 7. So that leaves us with 2 left over. You're like, where does that 2 go? What happens now? We're going to minus that 2 from our strength. So Avis at that point would have 8 strength. He'd be wounded, have 0 HP, and he'd need to make a strength save now that he's down to 0 HP to see if he takes critical damage. Now, if he doesn't get that critical damage, he's just wounded. He's still up and about, still in the fight. But if he does take critical damage, he is going to be unable to take further action. He's going to have to be tended to by an ally and have a short rest to be able to get back up and kind of into the action. And if nobody does that for him, if he's not tended, doesn't have that short rest, if he's just left for an hour, he will die. Same thing too, if you get to 0 strength, you die. So just one of those things to keep an eye out for. This game is one of those ones that avoid or not avoiding or strategically going after combat is the best way to go because life's cheap here. You could quickly die because you saw just that D68. If you're starting at level or starting at the beginning, level 1, you're gonna have at least under 6 HP. So it's not going to be something you could take multiple blows usually, unless the dice are kind to you. So it's just one to be aware of and know that it's very easy to be die here. You're very mortal. And we touched on some of those already with the ability loss score, the death. The only thing I want to touch on before we go now is short rest as well as long rest. Short rest are very easy in the system. It's just a few minutes breather, swig of water, and you are back up and recover all of your HP. Now, just HP. So if you lost strength, like Avis, so at that point he gets away, he gets time to chug some water, patch up those wounds. He is back up to 5 HP, but he still has 8 strength. To recover your strength on that side, you're going to need a full rest, which takes a whole week of downtime. And that restores all of your ability scores that may have been lost. So remember with this game, and usually I usually play with one shots, but it's definitely what you can play with a campaign. If you start losing strength, you are in a bad position because at Avis he was average before, but now he has to roll below 8 or below for any strength checks he makes, and the more damage he takes, the harder that gets. So just keep that in mind as you're going through with your PC. But as you see, we went through the core mechanics of the system. We built a PC. It's just 12 minutes so far, so it's really one of those ones that it's easy to get into. It's really one that I recommend a lot. If you want to have a quick game or a game where somebody's canceled and you just really want to still get the group together and play, roll into the odd. You could roll those PCs, get everybody up and running, and just get right into the action. But that's it. So we're going to wrap up the video here. Do want another shout out. October 12th for our actual play of the system. Come through. Follow me on T&J Gaming for your chance to see us play it out and win a copy of this amazing system. Also, if you're new to the channel, each month we pick a new game of the month. So I will give you guys a little sneak peek. October's is going to be the Alien system, also by Free League. We're on a little bit of a Free League kick right now. So if you love the Alien franchise, come through, check us out in October and see how that's played. But otherwise, like and subscribe, and check me out. There's always new videos coming down about different systems, games, and taking a dive into the wider world of TTRPGs and hopefully learn something new. So, until next time, crew.